Good afternoon. This is a little video to go with my spoon carving in Polly's place. That's my nickname, Polly. I want to make something clear. I don't strop. I find it unnecessary and a waste of time. It's all right if you need to be shaving sharp for something really soft like willow or poplar, where if your knife isn't real sharp, it'll tear the fibres, it'll pull the fibres apart, and it'll tear the surface up, making it fluffy and won't give you a good finish, and your facets won't shine, and your chines, the edge between two facets, won't be crisp. So in that case, you need to sharpen it. I go to 2000 maximum using, I think it's aluminium oxide or carburum. We call it wet and dry. It's what panel beaters use. I use that. I use it glued with a spray adhesive to a piece of flat board, and to make sure that it is flat. It's easier to know where you are, to feel the bevel when you're sharpening, if this is flat. If you have to make sure that it's flat, like I did with these, get a piece of the wet and dry, wet it, and lie it paper down on top of a really flat surface, such as, say, a mirror or a piece of window glass, and then polish it on the top so that you've got a nice flat surface. Once you've got that, glue the wet and dry to it. The other one we have is, the thing we use is a piece of dowel with the same wet and dry attached to it, wrapped around a strip of it, probably about 100 mil wide, wrapped around the dowel and taped down at either end with sparky tape, or in this case a bit of masking tape. And then, like these that are getting a little on the worn side and need replacing, you simply take the tape off, roll off the worn bit, tear it off, roll it back on, put the tape back. Job done. Nice and cheap, nice and easy. I'm not into high tech, got to spend a fortune just to get a sharp knife. You don't. So we use that. The other thing I use is a Halterfor's sharpening puck. Rough grade on one side, smooth grade on the other. And we're going to show you. And I'll start, the first thing we'll deal with is the axe. We're going to get that. The other thing is, I want to say right at the start, sharpen often. I sharpen after every spoon, whether I think it needs it or not, because it does. It's just carved a spoon out of, in Australia, some pretty tough timber, so it's going to need a touch up. The thing is, if you sharpen often, you don't have to sharpen much. It's quicker to sharpen your tools if you do them often. Do just a couple of minutes, that's all it takes, as you will see on these videos. So if you're carving away and it's taking more effort to do what didn't take much effort a little while ago, then it definitely needs sharpening. And if it's got that far, then you're going to have to spend more time sharpening to get it back to where it should be. So sharpen often. A couple of swipes here and there with the different grades between spoons, that's all it should take. But I'm going to go from the whole lot as though, you know, it's gone a bit far. Some of you might have a knife that's been let go, as we say. All right, well, we'll start with the axes. this one. Using the halter fours, make sure it's flat on the bevel. If you're right-handed like I am, lock your right arm in and your left arm in against your upper body. Your right arm should only be moving from the elbow, and we'll be moving away from the edge and following the edge at the same time. So we'll be doing that kind of thing. You'll know when you're on the bevel, it'll glide. If you angle the puck slightly and start to run along the edge itself or against the bevel, it'll drag a little bit and it'll make a bit more noise. I don't normally have to use the puck, just the paddles will do after every time. But every now and then it's nice to just put the puck over it and just keep it honest, as we say. You don't have to press hard. It's like when you're using drills or you're using tools, any machinery, let the tool do the work. That's what it's for. That's that one. From there I would go to, I give the 800, I run over with it. Same action. This side. $1,500. Do it slowly if you're not used to this sort of thing. Do it slowly and watch it through the whole thing and get used to how your wrist has got to move to follow that bevel. 2,000. I use the toe of the axe a lot, so I make sure I get a good edge up here, especially when I'm cutting out the cranks. That's good enough for me. Look after your tools, put it away. Right, next thing we're going to talk about is the straight knife. This is my straight knife. It's a Mora 106, put into my own handle, and I strongly recommend that if you're serious about carving and doing the best you can, make sure the handle suits your hand, your grip. They come with a generic handle, but we don't have generic hands. I have my hands, you have your hands. What we need to control that knife will be different between us. So carve yourself different handles, see what they feel like, and then watch Lee Stoffer did a nice little video on how to put a blade in a handle. Watch that. That's where I got mine from. Now, this has been kept up to snuff, so I'm going to start on the 1500. I don't need to go any further. A little bit of water on there. Now the thing here, find the bevel, get it flat, put your hand on the upper bevel, your fingers, 3 of them. Now as we slide backwards, we're going to slide sideways so that we are coming down the bevel, the blade. And then when we get to this corner here, it's a lift, and it's a slight lift and a slight rotate in towards yourself. So it's a little upwards movement of the wrist. So, and up, down and up. Don't come in, start the stroke up here and then expect to land on it and pick up the bevel, travel for a little bit and then take off again. We're not practicing landings on aircraft carriers. We're sharpening a knife. So make sure it's flat, come back and lift and stop. Back and stop. Very deliberate strokes. Now we're going back in the other way. So find that bevel, starting up here, and then we do the reverse. Go down and away and keep moving up the paddle. $2,000. Flat, slide, lift. Flat, slide, lift. Don't need to press hard, just firm pressure. Pressing harder won't do anything except make your arms, your hands and your wrists sore and tired. And that's it. You can see that's good enough for me. My knife lives in its little sheath. Now we're going to talk about hook knives. The hook knife I use the most is the Peter von Trott hollow back. It's a hollow back because there's a hollow in here, and you can see the 2 shiny edges there. They're what they call the rail tracks, right? Now the thing about this is that by putting our dowel directly over them 2 train tracks, we are staying dead flat the whole time, which means that as we sharpen it over the life of the tool, and we sharpen and sharpen, we do not change that edge geometry. That very vital angle between the bevel and the back of the knife stays the same, right? The maker of these tools went to a lot of trouble to get that edge geometry just right. And if you're unfortunate enough to have trying to learn to to do this sort of business and put the bevel, well, it can come unstuck. It takes a lot of practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this. Take one of your paddles, lay it upside down, because we're going to rotate the knife on it. Yep, that's the 800 there. Wet it, nice and flat. And then as we go down and away, we're always going away from the edge, we rotate the knife upwards, rolling the dowel as we go. $2,000. Actually started on the 1,500, but that's all right because it hasn't been done a lot of work. It's only because I use the spoon mill to do most of the excavation on my bowls. Basically, the hook knife is just to refine it and make it and fine carve the edges. That's all that needs. That's as sharp as a sharp thing, a really sharp thing. So it's fine. Protect your edge. Make sure you keep it in its little case. Now this is a Ben Orford. It's a flat back. In other words, what the toolmaker has done, he's made a straight knife. He's put a bevel on one side of it, and the other side is just flat, a bit like the way you'd sharpen a side axe. All right, so there's only one bevel on it, on that side. It's flat here. Then what he does, he bends it over into a hook shape. Now, the thing that happens is that when you've done that, you'll find that the inside radius of the curve is shorter than the outside radius of the curve. Not by much, but by enough. Because then what happens is you've got all that material being squashed into a smaller space, which means that when that happens, you get a hump. When you buy a flat back hook, rarely are they dead flat. They will have a slight rise. If you got your dowel and ran it down the inside of it, you'd find your scratches in a narrow band right in the middle on the top of the rise. Now, the way you do that is, of course, you can carry on. You can try your best to get it on the inside, and then because you can't get it on the inside effectively, you have to start taking it from the outside. And the way you do that is put it on there and run it around. But I do it that way. I can see the edge there, and then I come round and I'm watching the scratches. It's hit and miss, takes a lot of practice. But what I've done with this, if you have a look at it, if I can get it without the shine on it, you'll see there's a dull bit down the middle and two shiny bits. You might say, oh, that's a hollow back. No, it is, but it isn't. Sean Hellman did a really good video piece online that he was recorded at the 2019 Spoonfest in Britain, and he showed me, or showed us all, a little trick with flat backs to make it easier to sharpen them. And what he did, he shows you how to use a Dremel mounted point to grind out the center at the back of that blade and make it a semi-hollow back. He's taken the hump out, and it's actually fabulously easy to sharpen now. Again, I don't have to bother about trying to follow angles on the outside. All I have to do is go straight across there and sharpen it out. Done. You can see the center's been ground out of that. Hook knives. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is this gouge, these gouges. Now, this does take a bit of practice. I've got this sharp, so I'm only going to demonstrate it. Again, put it flat on there, and then rotate it away. And look where the scratches are. Make sure you're keeping that bevel flat. The inside, you can see it's pretty mucky. I've got a buffing wheel over there. In fact, I've got one of these. But the mice have had a chew on it, but that should still work. Put that in the drill, put a bit of cutting compound on it, and run it away from the edge, and that will clean. That's only tar and sap and crud. It just needs cleaning off every now and then. But that's how we do the gouge. It's quite simple, so long as you keep on top of it. Once you let it go too far, that's not very clever. Draw knife. Pretty much the same as an axe. You could, if it hasn't been done for a while, you can use the Haltifor's puck and do it with that. I'll do the smooth side on this because it doesn't need much. The other side, flat, keeping it flat, just to make sure that there's no burr over. $2,000. You can see that little bit there, that's because this was slightly hollow ground, and you can see that there hasn't been quite as much sharpening going on at the edges as there has in the middle. I've nearly taken the hollow grind out. That's because on short strokes, such as the back of a spoon bowl or something, we're only using pretty much the middle of the blade. So that's that. That's how I sharpen my tools. Do some research, find the best way that the way you prefer. I prefer my way because it's quick, it's simple, it's easy, and it suits the timber I'm carving. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.